strongest, most durable things that man can make is steel. But did you know that in order to make that strong steel, there are many steps along the way? Madame Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, welcome guests, and anyone who's ever made it to 11-year anniversaries. When I was looking up 11-year anniversaries, I stumbled upon the fact that steel is the traditional gift that you would give somebody. And based on my relationship with Toastmasters, I would say it's very apropos. In fact, I can't think of anything that I would have as a preference than steel. Now, tonight, I'm going to share with you how I was molded, grinded, blasted into the Toastmaster and communicator you see before you. As Patricia has said, my journey began in that very library where some of our guests and members are sitting tonight. And that Steve Elliott, who strode into that room, well, I was already a good public speaker. I wasn't even sure why I was at Toastmasters. I was so good, but I thought I would give it a try. For you see, all through my professional career in retail, people had told me, Steve, you're a great public speaker. And I was foolish enough to believe them. For when I saw my icebreaker, Carl mentioned his earlier, where his phone went off 3 times. Well, in my icebreaker, I was doing the cha-cha. Back and forth, and back and forth. In fact, the rug in that library had to be replaced after the meeting from so much pacing that I was doing. Needless to say, I was mortified and also resentful of all those people that told me I was good at public speaking. What were they talking about? But in all seriousness, this club has helped me along the way. The cha-cha has been replaced. I am now sturdy steel that stands and delivers speeches with some aplomb. But it wasn't always this way. In fact, after I got rid of the cha-cha, and I don't remember who in the club suggested this, but somebody came to me and said, Steve, you should go out for a contest. They're a great way to learn. And I foolishly said yes. Well, maybe not foolishly, but I really didn't know what I was getting into. They told me it would be a speech evaluation contest. Well, I had done speech evaluations, so no problem. Or so I thought. Well, the problem didn't really start until a few steps in. For you see, at the club level, I won the speech evaluation contest. I'd like to think it's because the members had pity on me, maybe. Who knows? But I soon found myself at the area contest. I won again. I didn't even know what the next step was. I was so thrilled that I had won at area. I was told, you're going to the division. So to the division I went. And you know that saying that ignorance is bliss? I was ignorant about what was going on. So it wasn't causing huge butterflies. It wasn't really getting me anxious because I didn't really know what I was doing, to be perfectly honest. Well, the judges must have liked the guy who didn't know what he was doing because I won at the division. Well, this is a snap, I told myself. This is easy. I've gotten all the way to the district. No problem. Well, there was a problem. Because not only was I cocky now, I was also competing with some very experienced Toastmasters. And when I stumbled down to the contestant briefing at 6 a.m., it quickly became apparent to me that everybody around me had been there before. In fact, one of my fellow contestants launched a protest in the briefing. We can do that? A chief judge was summoned down, and there was a huddle that went on. And all the while, I was starting to think, uh-oh, I'm in trouble. Well, those fears were soon allayed, for we drew our speaking order. And at the club, at the area, and at the division, I had drawn the last person. So when it happened again at the district, I thought, this is a sign from the gods. I will win this contest. I am going to wow them with the last evaluation. Well, needless to say, this is where some grinding took place. For you see, in order for steel to take its shape, material needs to be grinded down a bit. And this is where the grinding started for me. Because going last meant I was sequestered in a room for almost an hour. And I was sequestered with the contestants who were much more experienced than I. So I overheard little snippets of conversation. I had always taken notes when I did my evaluations. But then I heard, if you take notes, the judges are going to dock you marks. Oh, okay, I won't take notes. Over in this side of the room, I heard another conversation. Make sure you look at the whole room. Do not focus on the one person you're evaluating. That makes sense. Although I'd only ever looked at the person I was evaluating. I wasn't used to looking at the whole audience. Oh, well, I guess these experienced Toastmasters know what they're doing. So out I went. No notes. And with the thought in my mind that I was going to look at the entire audience, all 200 eyeballs. Have you ever had an out of body experience where you almost step away from yourself and see maybe something that's not so good happening? Because that happened to me that day. I was watching myself fumble and bumble through a horrible evaluation. And as I stumbled from the stage, pretty sure that I had not made the top three, I was crushed. Yes, that grinding was complete. I had been crushed, not by anything that anyone had said, just that I knew I hadn't delivered my best. Well, I guess I owe a thanks. 11 years late, perhaps, but I need all the friends I can get on Friday. So Kathy, Christina, Carl, and a few others who aren't here tonight were all great at huddling around me, giving me words of comfort. And I started to get warmed, not like a blast furnace for the steel, but just a nice warm feeling that it's not the end of the world. So I didn't come in the top three. Big deal. But I did make a vow that I was going to get better and compete again. Well, I ended up competing in a speech contest the next time. And this time it was a little different, for the naivety was gone. I knew what I was getting into. And the lesson I had learned from the previous time was I can't control what other people do. So if they launch protests, well, that's on them. If they want to go out there with no notes, that's their business. I'm not going to copy people. I'm going to give an authentic speech. Well, I made it through the club. I made it through the area. And yes, I made it through the division. This time it was a speech contest, so I was learning how to tweak my speech. And for those guests in the room, I was learning when it was good to speed up your language and when it was good to slow down. Let the audience think about what you're saying. Well, when I got to the district contest again, I looked around the room and I felt this time that I kind of belonged there. Except there was one speaker who was the reigning champion. He had built a reputation of wonderful speeches. My preference would have been to not have competed against this gentleman because I knew he was good. But I quickly stopped that thought and said, I'm going to do the best I can. And so, yes, it felt like I was going into a furnace because the pressure was on. But I knew I controlled my own destiny. So out I went onto the stage to deliver my speech. And I came off with a very rare feeling. And that is, I've done my best. I wasn't thinking of, oh, I shouldn't have done this. Why didn't I say that? I came off thinking I've delivered the best speech I can. And I was content when I sat there. There was no out of body experience for me in this speech contest. I was comfortable with what I had achieved. Imagine my surprise when my name was called for third place. It had felt like I had won. Yes, Mr. Champion won the contest, but this was almost greater than coming in first. For this was personal satisfaction. And while it was nice to be recognized by the judges, it felt even better for me. And so my steel got better. I got stronger. Now, fast forward 11 years. I'm still standing here. And the question I often get is, Steve, why are you still at Toastmasters? Well, I'm at Toastmasters for two reasons. One, oxygen. Wait, that didn't come out right. Oh, that's about steel. Okay, yes. For you see, the members of this club provide oxygen, a necessary a necessary element to make steel as strong as it can be. What oxygen do I get from this club? Well, I get thoughtful evaluations like the one you're going to see tonight from Jonathan. I get support from the members who tell me, Steve, you can do this. I also get pushed. Steve Carl is probably sitting in that room saying, how come Steve hasn't mentioned me very much yet? Those in the library, ask Carl. He probably has his 10-year plan for me in his binder, along with the word of the day. And if it's, or sorry, I should say, Carl's preference is that I become the international president of Toastmasters. Well, this is a joke, I think, right, Carl? But even if it isn't, Carl is showing me that he has confidence in my abilities to continue to grow, to continue to develop. And without that needed oxygen, my steel would be very weak. Now, as Christina has already shared with you, I have a shot at redemption. Now, to be honest, I hadn't really thought of it that way until recently. And again, I had a bit of an out of body experience here, thinking back to that Toastmaster, that paced, that fidgeted, that even said to the audience at the end of speeches, "Thank you for your time." Ouch. I'm a more confident Toastmaster. I am ready for the next challenge. I am steel-willed to do better this time. Does that mean I'm shooting for gold? No. What I'm shooting for is that personal satisfaction, that feeling that I did the best that I could do. And when you think about it, that doesn't apply just to Toastmasters. That can apply to any aspect of your life. Sure, it's nice to be the number one salesperson. It's nice to be the best at your profession. But isn't it also nice to have personal satisfaction? To feel like you've truly done the best you could do given the circumstances? So I hope tonight my speech has made more friends, because I will take all the oxygen I can get on Friday when I stride on to the virtual stage and represent Port Credit in the speech evaluation contest. But just know that I will be thinking of this from a personal satisfaction, not a I must win at all costs. Because when you start to win at all costs, that's when things can go horribly wrong. Too much pressure, too many things on your mind, and the results are not there. So I ask you again, when you go through life, when life has given you a challenge, do you think about, I've got to be the best? Or do you think, I'm going to do my best? This Friday, I'm going to do my best to represent the club and to deliver as good an evaluation as I can. And if you would like to join me, I would love to have you as oxygen to help me in this final stage. And who knows? Maybe this will be the fairy tale ending. Maybe this will become a Hollywood blockbuster. Not really. But at least I will have made strides over where I was. Back to you, Madame Toastmaster.